Wonderful. Hello. We're good? We're good on YouTube? Hi, YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Hello, hello. Oh my goodness. We are going to be finishing our book tonight, The Room in the Dragon Volant, and I am so excited. Passing off the torch to Sean. Fidge, have a wonderful sleep. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. Wonderful. We are picking up where we left off on Thursday. We have 3 chapters left in our story, and we are going to finish it tonight. We have been reading The Room in the Dragon Volant, which is a novella by Sheridan le Fanu. Anonymous, thank you for that gift sub. Thank you to that I can't see what the name is. I don't thank you so much, Anonymous. Yeah, we got pretty close to the end last time, but we decided to save the last few chapters for tonight. And I'm so excited because, oh my goodness, Richard, you dummy. Okay, we are following the story of Richard Beckett, who is a young, admittedly, apparently he's quite handsome, and he is very rich and very naive Englishman who is on vacay in Paris and has fallen in love with another man's wife and has agreed to run away with her because she's like, I hate my husband, you have money, I have diamonds, let's make a break for it. We're all just screaming at the book, Richard, it's a scam. Thank you, yes, it's a scam. They're in cahoots. The Countess seems to be in cahoots with her husband, the Count, and probably the Marquis, who we still don't know if he's actually a real Marquis or not, but either way, they all seem to be working together. Oh, Swag, thank you. That is very sweet of you. Overlay? Oh, should I take the overlay off? The Nimbus? Do you wanna calm down a little bit, or I'll just take that off. Alright. Okay. Alright. So he got to the castle to meet up with the Countess, and she's being very suspicious, and he is not suspecting her of things, which is infuriating. She says, why don't you put down your strongbox of all your money in the world just here on the couch, and then come into the other room where my maid has prepared us some coffee and liqueur. And he does this. And then, wouldn't you know it, he seems to be paralyzed again, which is what happened to him while he was traveling by coach with the Marquis, and he drank coffee purchased by the Marquis. And in the other room is a coffin. Now, her husband, the Count, is supposed to be away from home, which is why it's the opportune time for he and the Countess to escape together. Because the Count has apparently gone to take care of the funeral of his cousin, I want to say, family member. And, but that family member's coffin is just in the other room. Richard wasn't supposed to peek. He did. He saw it. And she's like, oh yeah, no, the body arrived to us late, so my husband set out for the funeral ahead of time, and we're gonna like send the body there, which makes no sense. So he thinks there's a coffin with a dead body in the other room. we're pretty sure it's just an empty coffin, and wouldn't you know it, the plaque on the coffin with this man's name, who apparently has died, also says that he was 23 years of age, which is about Richard's age. So this guy is very dumb. AK Cleric! Oh my goodness. Thank you for the resub. Wait, 25 months? Cleric, thank you. That's massive. Over 2 years. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Thank you so, so much. Oh my goodness. If you are still around after we finish our reading segment, I would love to do a name trace for you. But yeah, either way, thank you, thank you, thank you. Man. Alright. Dickie's ending up in a box. We'll see. I mean, we know that he makes it out eventually because this account is being told to us by the pen of Richard Beckett himself at a later time. But whether he gets put in the coffin or not at some point, we don't know. How much worse is it going to get before he escapes, basically? Or worse, there's a body in there and they're going for a twofer. True, Hades. That's possible. The reason I think it might be empty is that there's a pattern of 3 other people disappearing from the exact room in the Dragon Volant where Richard is staying. And we know now that there is a secret passage from that room, that the Count has the key. The Countess gave the key to Richard. That's how he got out. We also know that the Marquis arranged for Richard to stay at that inn. And so I'm thinking this isn't the first time they've pulled this scheme. Yeah. Hi, Buddha over on YouTube and Artax on YouTube. Hello, hello. Hi, Jonathan. Oh yes, we are streaming on both YouTube and Twitch right now. Thank you guys so much for supporting this as we've started doing the live streaming on YouTube. I know it is late to come. You know, we've just started our 4th year of streaming on Twitch, and we're just getting started on YouTube, but thank you guys so much. If anyone is able to watch from the YouTube live stream, like if you have it open in a second window or whatever, that does count towards the watch hours, so that's highly appreciated, but obviously no pressure. Please watch wherever is most comfortable for you. Yeah. Hi, Jonathan. Hello. Hello, hello. Oh my goodness. Okay. Alright, so let's get into it. Cleric, what the heck? Thank you for the 1,000 bits. Cleric, that's incredibly kind of you. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Thank you so much. Oh man. Alright, now if you would like to read along, there is a comment pinned at the top of Twitch chat, and here, let me pin the one in YouTube chat as well. It's crazy that mods can't pin messages on YouTube. Okay, it is pinned now. A link where you can download or just open this book from Project Gutenberg. And we are starting with chapter 23. Did I tell you that my mom loves the mug I got for you? Really? Wait, which one, Cleric? That's awesome. Also, just sound check, volume's okay and everything. We go in and out of ASMR, so I like to make sure that I'm not blowing out anyone's eardrums or anything. Aw, I'm so glad she likes it. I believe I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. The lit mug? Nice. Oh, I'm so glad she likes it. They're good mugs. I use mine all the time. Heck yeah. Volume's great. The gain isn't crazy. Okay, right on. Thank you, thank you. Okay, chapter 23. Hope. She had scarcely set down my heavy box, which she seemed to have considerable difficulty in raising on the table, when the door of the room in which I had seen the coffin opened, and a sinister and unexpected apparition entered. Good night, Cassiax. Thanks for hanging out. Have a wonderful night. Right, so Richard is paralyzed on her couch. She pretends to be concerned, and then suddenly all the emotion leaves her face once she's sure that he is truly paralyzed. So, a sinister, unexpected apparition entered. It was the Count de Saint-Alyre, who had been, as I have told you, reported to me to be, for some considerable time, on his way to Père Lachaise. He stood before me for a moment, with the frame of the doorway and a background of darkness enclosing him like a portrait. His slight, mean figure was draped in the deepest mourning. He had a pair of black gloves in his hand, and his hat with crape round it. When he was not speaking, his face showed signs of agitation. His mouth was puckering and working. He looked damnably wicked and frightened. Well, my dear... Wait, I have to remember how to do a approximation of a French accent. Is this another vampire novel? Not as far as we can see. Oh, I am a count. Hello, monsieur. Well, my dear Eugenie. Well, child, eh? Well, it all goes admirably. Yes, she answered in a low, hard tone. But you and Planard should not have left that door open. This, she said sternly. He went in there and looked about wherever he liked. It was fortunate he did not move aside the lid of the coffin. Oh, Planard should have seen to that, said the Count sharply. Mais foi, I can't be everywhere. He advanced half a dozen short, quick steps into the room toward me, and placed his glasses to his eyes. Monsieur Beckett, he cried sharply, 2 or 3 times. Ah, you don't know me. He approached and peered more closely in my face, raised my hand and shook it, calling me again, and then let it drop, and said, It has set in admirably, my pretty mignon. When did it commence? The Countess came and stood beside him and looked at me steadily for some seconds. You can't conceive the effect of the silent gaze of those 2 pairs of evil eyes. The lady glanced to where, I recollected, the mantelpiece stood, and upon it a clock, the regular click of which I sharply heard. 4, 5, 6 minutes and a half, she said slowly, in a cold, hard way. Brava, bravissima, my beautiful queen. Oh, my little Venus, my Joan of Arc, my heroine, my paragon of women. He was gloating on me with an odious curiosity, smiling as he groped backward with his thin brown fingers to find the lady's hand. But she, not, I dare say, caring for his caresses, drew back a little. Oh, come, ma chère. Let us count these things. What is it? Pocketbook or what? It is that, said the lady, pointing with a look of disgust to the box, which lay in its leather case on the table. Oh, let us see, let us count. Let us see, he said, as he was unbuckling the straps with his tremulous fingers. We must count them. We must see to it. I have pencil and pocketbook, but where is the key? Oh, see this cursed lock. What is it? Where's the key? He was standing before the Countess, shuffling his feet, with his hands extended and all his fingers quivering. I have not got it. Wait, that was not. Hi, NFS man. Let me try that again. I have not got it. How could I? It is in his pocket, of course. Said the lady. I really have to keep reminding you guys, I'm terrible at accents and I'm not a voice actor. In another instant, the fingers of the old miscreant were in my pockets. He plucked out everything they contained, and some keys among the rest. I lay in precisely the state in which I had been during my drive with the Marquis to Paris. This wretch, I knew, was about to rob me. The whole drama and the Countess's role in it, I could not yet comprehend. Really? I could not be sure. So much more presence of mind and histrionic resource have women than fall to the lot of our clumsy sex, whether the return of the Count was not, in truth, a surprise to her. And the scrutiny of the contents of my strong box, an extempore undertaking of the Count's. But it was clearing more and more every moment, and I was destined, very soon, to comprehend minutely my appalling situation. You go to bed, Chompy. Good night. Good night, good night. He's like still holding out hope. Even if she didn't expect the Count back, she's still the one that poisoned you. I had not the power of turning my eyes this way or that, the smallest fraction of a hair's breadth. But let anyone, placed as I was at the end of a room, ascertain for himself by experiment how wide is the field of sight, without the slightest alteration in the line of vision, he will find that it takes in the entire breadth of a large room, and that up to a very short distance before him, and imperfectly, by a refraction, I believe, in the eye itself, to a point very near indeed. Next to nothing that passed in the room, therefore, was hidden from me. The old man had, by this time, found the key. The leather case was open. The box, cramped round with iron, was next unlocked. He turned out its contents upon the table. Rouleau of 100 Napoleon each. 1, 2, 3. Yes, quick. Write down 1,000 Napoleon. 1, 2, yes, right. Another 1,000, right. Oh, I don't know why I went German there. Right. And so on and on till the gold was rapidly counted. Then came the notes. 10,000 franc. Right. Then 1,000 franc again. Is it written? Another 10,000 francs. Is it down? Smaller notes would have been better. They should have been smaller. Oh, they're horribly embarrassing. Bolt the door again. Planard would become unreasonable if he knew the amount. Why did you not tell him to get it in smaller notes? No matter now. Go on. It can't be helped. Right? Another 10,000 francs. Another. And so on till my treasure was counted out before my face, while I saw and heard all that passed with the sharpest distinctness, and my mental perceptions were horribly vivid. But in all other respects, I was dead. He had replaced in the box every note and rouleau as he counted it, and now, having ascertained the sum total, he locked it, placed it very methodically in its cover, opened a buffet in the wainscoting, and having placed the Countess's jewel case and my strong box in it, he locked it. And immediately on completing these arrangements, he began to complain with fresh acrimony and maledictions of Planard's delay. He unbolted the door, looked in the dark room beyond, and listened. He closed the door again and returned. The old man was in a fever of suspense. I have kept 10,000 francs for Planard, said the Count, touching his waistcoat pocket. Will that satisfy him? Asked the lady. Why, curse him, screamed the Count. Has he no conscience? I'll swear to him he's half the entire thing. He and the lady again came and looked at me anxiously for a while, in silence. And then the old Count began to grumble again about Planard and to compare his watch with the clock. The lady seemed less impatient. She sat no longer looking at me, but across the room, so that her profile was toward me, and strangely changed, dark and witch-like it looked. My last hope died as I beheld that jaded face from which the mask had dropped. I was certain that they intended to crown their robbery by murder. Why did they not dispatch me at once? What object could there be in postponing the catastrophe which would expedite their own safety? I cannot recall, even to myself, adequately the horrors unutterable that I underwent. You must suppose a real nightmare. I mean, a nightmare in which the objects and the danger are real, and the spell of corporeal death appears to be protractable at the pleasure of the persons who preside at your unearthly torments. I could have no doubt as to the cause of the state in which I was. In this agony, to which I could not give the slightest expression, I saw the door of the room where the coffin had been open slowly, and the Marquis d'Armonville entered the room. I think we're about to find out that he is not a Marquis. His eyes have to be annoyingly dry. I'm not sure if they've mentioned it this time, but when this happened to him on his carriage ride, his eyes were like shut enough that apparently he looked like he was sleeping. But you know how your eyes can be like almost shut, but you can still like see pretty clearly? Yeah. But still probably, yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's see. Chapter 24. Despair. A moment's hope. Hope violent and fluctuating. Hope that was nearly torture. And then came a dialogue, and with it, the terrors of despair.
Then Gavin Blanard, you have come at last,
said the Count, taking him with both hands by the arm and clinging to it and drawing him toward me.
See, look at him. It has all gone sweetly, sweetly, sweetly up to this. Shall I hold the candle for you?
My friend, Darmonville, Planard, whatever he was, came to me, pulling off his gloves, which he popped into his pocket.
The candle, a little this way,
he said, and stooping over me, he looked earnestly in my face. He touched my forehead, drew his hand across it, and then looked in my eyes for a time.
Well, Doctor, what do you think?
Whispered the Count. How much did you give him? Said the Marquis, thus suddenly stunted down to a doctor.
70 drops,
said the lady, in the hot coffee.
Yes, 60 in a hot cup of coffee, and 10 in the liqueur.
Her voice, low and hard, seemed to me to tremble a little. It takes a long course of guilt to subjugate nature completely and prevent those exterior signs of agitation that outlive all good. The doctor, however, was treating me as coolly as he might a subject which he was about to place on the dissecting table for a lecture. He looked into my eyes again for a while, took my wrist, and applied his fingers to the pulse.
That action suspended, he said to himself.
Then again he placed something that, for the moment, I saw. It looked like a piece of gold beater's leaf to my lips, holding his head so far that his own breathing could not affect it.
Yes,
he said in soliloquy, very low. Then he plucked my shirt breast open and applied the stethoscope, shifted it from point to point, listened with his ear to its end, as if for a very far-off sound, raised his head and said, in like manner, softly to himself,
all appreciable action of the lungs has subsided.
Then, turning from the sound, as I conjectured, he said,
70 drop, allowing 10 for waste, or to hold him fast for 6 hours and a half. That is ample. The experiment I tried in the carriage was only 30 drop, and showed an highly sensitive brain. It would not do to kill him, you know. You are certain you did not exceed 70.
Perfectly, said the lady.
If you were to die, the evaporation would be arrested, and foreign matter, some of it poisonous, would be found in the stomach, don't you see? If you are doubtful, it would be well to use the stomach pump. Dearest Eugenie, be frank. Be frank, do be frank, urged the Count.
I am not doubtful. I am certain, she answered.
How long ago exactly? I told you to observe the time.
I did. The minute hand was exactly there, under the point of that Cupid's foot.
It will last then probably for 7 hours. He will recover then. The evaporation will be complete, and not one particle of the fluid will remain in the stomach.
It was reassuring, at all events, to hear that there was no intention to murder me. No one who has not tried it knows the terror of the approach of death, when the mind is clear, the instincts of life unimpaired, and no excitement to disturb the appreciation of that entirely new horror. The nature and purpose of this tenderness was very, very peculiar, and as yet I had not a suspicion of it.
You leave France, I suppose, said the ex-marquis. Yes, certainly. Tomorrow, answered the count. And where do you mean to go? Oh, that I have not yet settled, he answered quickly. You won't tell a friend, eh? Oh, I can't, till I know. Oh, this has turned out an unprofitable affair. We shall settle that by and by. It is time we should get him lying down, eh? Said the count, indicating me with one finger. Yes, we must proceed rapidly now. Are his nightshirt and nightcap, you understand, here? All ready? Said the count. Now, madame, said the doctor, turning to the lady and making her, in spite of the emergency, a bow. It is time you should retire. The lady passed into the room in which I had taken my cup of treacherous coffee, and I saw her no more. The count took a candle and passed through the door at the further end of the room, returning with a roll of linen in his hand. He bolted first one door, then the other. They now, in silence, proceeded to undress me rapidly. There were not many minutes in accomplishing this. What the doctor had termed my nightshirt, a long garment which reached below my feet, was now on, and a cap that resembled a female nightcap more than anything I had ever seen upon a male head was fitted upon mine and tied under my chin. And now, I thought, I shall be laid in a bed to recover how I can, and in the meantime the conspirators will have escaped with their booty, and pursuit be in vain. Hi, SLE. Hi, DJ. Hello, hello. This was my best hope at the time, but it was soon clear that their plans were very different. The Count and Planard now went together into the room that lay straight before me. I heard them talking low, and a sound of shuffling feet. Then a long rumble. It suddenly stopped. It recommenced. It continued. Side by side, they came in at the door, their backs toward me. They were dragging something along the floor that made a continued boom and rumble, but they interposed between me and it so that I could not see it until they had dragged it almost beside me. And then, merciful heaven, I saw it plainly enough. It was the coffin I had seen in the next room. It lay now flat on the floor, its edge against the chair in which I sat. Planard removed the lid. The coffin was empty. End of chapter. Oh, Richard, you're so naive. Even in the midst of this, he hears what they're talking about and he's like, oh, they're not going to kill you. No, dear. It's because, as the doctor says, if he dies from the poison, and then, of course, this wealthy nobleman is reported as missing, there's an investigation. If they are able to track it and they find this body, the body will have signs of being poisoned, right? But if they wait until it's out of his system, and then he dies because he's shut up in a coffin, then he won't be dying from the poison. Yeah. But just the fact that he has the ability to hope in that situation. I mean, look, Richard is dumb as a brick. But I kind of just want to pat his head, you know? Like, he's
He's such a, like, golden retriever. Do you know what I mean? Trey, hello. Don't usually see you around here at this time. Can't believe you're still here for the reading, Trey. Crazy. Wee you. And suddenly we're reading The Premature Burial. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Is this the last chapter? This is the last chapter. Last chapter, guys. Alright, let's see how this wraps up. It's 1 a.m. and you were awoken by something. By me? Did I wake you up? Chapter 26. Catastrophe. Those seem to be good horses, and we change on the way, said Planard. You give the men a Napoleon or two. We must do it within 3 hours and a quarter. Now come, I'll lift him upright, so as to place his feet in their proper berth, and you must keep them together and draw the white shirt well down over them. In another moment I was placed, as he described, sustained in Planard's arms, standing at the foot of the coffin, and so lowered backward, gradually, till I lay my length in it. Then the man, whom he called Planard, stretched my arms by my sides and carefully arranged the frills at my breast and the folds of the shroud, and after that, taking his stand at the foot of the coffin, made a survey which seemed to satisfy him. The Count, who was very methodical, took my clothes, which had just been removed, folded them rapidly together, and locked them up, as I afterwards heard, in one of the 3 presses which opened by doors in the panel. A press is just means a closet. I now understood their frightful plan. This coffin had been prepared for me. The funeral of Saint-Amand was a sham to mislead inquiry. I had myself given the order at Père Lachaise, signed it, and paid the fees for the interment of the fictitious Pierre de Saint-Amand, whose place I was to take, to lie in his coffin with his name on the plate above my breast, with a ton of clay packed down upon me, to waken from this catalepsy after I had been for hours in the grave, there to perish by a death the most horrible that imagination can conceive. If, hereafter, by any caprice of curiosity or suspicion, the coffin should be exhumed, and the body it enclosed examined, no chemistry could detect a trace of poison, nor the most cautious examination the slightest mark of violence. I had myself been at the utmost pains to mystify inquiry should my disappearance excite surmises, and had even written to my few correspondents in England to tell them that they were not to look for a letter from me for 3 weeks at least. In the moment of my guilty elation, death had caught me, and there was no escape. I tried to pray to God in my unearthly panic, but only thoughts of terror, judgment, and eternal anguish crossed the distraction of my immediate doom. I must not try to recall what is, indeed, indescribable, the multiform horrors of my own thoughts. I will relate simply what befell, every detail of which remains sharp in my memory as if cut in steel. "The undertaker's men are in the hall," said the Count. "They must not come till this is fixed," answered Planard. "Be good enough to take hold of the lower part while I take this end." I was not left long to conjecture what was coming, for in a few seconds more, something slid across a few inches above my face and entirely excluded the light and muffled sound, so that nothing that was not very distinct reached my ears henceforward. But very distinctly came the working of a turn screw and the crunching home of screws in succession. Than these vulgar sounds, no doom spoken in thunder could have been more tremendous. The rest I must relate, not as it then reached my ears, which was too imperfectly and interruptedly to supply a connected narrative, but as it was afterward told me by other people. The coffin lid being screwed down, the two gentlemen arranged the room and adjusted the coffin so that it lay perfectly straight along the boards, the Count being specially anxious that there should be no appearance of hurry or disorder in the room, which might have suggested remark and conjecture. When this was done, Dr. Planard said he would go to the hall to summon the men who were to carry the coffin out and place it in the hearse. The Count pulled on his black gloves and held his white handkerchief in his hand, a very impressive chief mourner. He stood a little behind the head of the coffin, awaiting the arrival of the persons who accompanied Planard, and whose fast steps he soon heard approaching. Planard came first. He entered the room through the apartment in which the coffin had been originally placed. His manner was changed. There was something of a swagger in it. "Monsieur le Comte," he said as he strode through the door, followed by half a dozen persons, "I am sorry to have to announce to you a most unseasonable interruption. Here is Monsieur Carmagnac, a gentleman holding an office in the police department, who says that information to the effect that large quantities of smuggled English and other goods have been distributed in this neighborhood, and that a portion of them is concealed in your house. I venture to assure him of my own knowledge that nothing can be more false than that information, and that you would be only too happy to throw open for his inspection at a moment's notice every room, closet, and cupboard in your house." "Most assuredly," exclaimed the Count, with a stout voice, but a very white face. "Oh, thank you, my good friend, for having anticipated me. I will place my house and keys at his disposal for the purpose of his scrutiny, so soon as he is good enough to inform me of what specific contraband goods he comes in search." "The Count de Saint-Alyre will pardon me," answered Carmagnac, a little dryly. "I am forbidden by my instructions to make that disclosure, and that I am instructed to make a general search. This warrant will sufficiently apprise Monsieur le Comte." "Oh, Monsieur Carmagnac, may I hope," interposed Planard, "that you will permit the Count de Saint-Alyre to attend the funeral of his kinsman, who lies here, as you see," he pointed to the plate upon the coffin, "and to convey whom to Père Lachaise. A hearse waits at this moment at the door." "That I regret to say I cannot permit. My instructions are precise, but the delay, I trust, will be but trifling. Monsieur le Comte will not suppose for a moment that I suspect him, but we have a duty to perform, and I must act as if I did. When I am ordered to search, I search. Things are sometimes hid in such bizarre places. I can't say, for instance, what that coffin may contain." "Oh,
The body of my kinsman, Monsieur Pierre de Saint-Amand, answered the Count, loftily. Oh, then you've seen him? Seen him? Often, too often. The Count was evidently a good deal moved. I mean, the body. The Count stole a quick glance at Plenard. No, monsieur. That is, I mean, only for a moment. Another quick glance at Plenard. But long enough, I fancy, to recognize him, insinuated that gentleman. Of course, instantly, perfectly. What, Pierre de Saint-Amand, not know him at a glance? No, poor fellow, I know him too well for that. The things I am in search of, said Monsieur Carmagnac, would fit in a narrow compass. Servants are so ingenious sometimes. Let us raise the lid. Oh, pardon me, monsieur, said the Count peremptorily, advancing to the side of the coffin and extending his arm across it. I cannot permit that indignity, that desecration. There shall be none, sir. Simply the raising of the lid. You shall remain in the room. If it shall prove, as we all hope, you shall have the pleasure of one other look, really the last, upon your beloved kinsman. Oh, but, sir, I can't. But, monsieur, I must. Oh, but, besides the things he turned screw broke when the last screw was turned, and I give you my sacred honor that there is nothing but the body in the coffin. Of course, Monsieur le Comte believes all that, but he cannot know so well as I the legerdemain in use among servants who are accustomed to smuggling. Here, Philippe, you must take off the lid of that coffin. Do you guys remember Carmagnac? Richard met him at the masked ball at Versailles, along with that other Englishman, Whistledown or something. That wasn't it. Something like that. Whistledown? Lick whistle? It was something like... It was something like that. There was the Englishman and Carmagnac, and... And they even came and hung out with Richard at the inn one time, because Carmagnac knew stories about people disappearing at that inn. Yeah, just in case. No, it was something like that. I know that sounds... It's not Whistledown, but it's like... It is actually similar to that. Yeah. Red Pyramid, thank you. And he knew that Richard was staying in the room. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry that this is just a mess of 3 poorly done male French accents. It's probably a little difficult to tell them apart. I usually have a decent range of voices, but I'm less practiced in having a wide range when I'm also trying to do a poor approximation of an accent, so hopefully it's clear who's speaking. But the Count protested, but Philippe, a man with a bald head and a smirched face. Smirched? I've only ever heard besmirched. Okay, so a smirch is a dirty mark or stain. So, like, the example they gave, it can also be a verb to smirch something. Like, the window was smirched by heat and smoke. Smirched versus besmirch. Okay, so smirching is more like physical,
And besmirching is more about like discrediting or disgracing someone. So it's more of a figurative dirty mark. But if you're leaving a physical dirty mark, that's just smirching. Oh, I love that. I love that. That's our word of the day. Hi, good times. Hello, hello. How are you doing? Good to see you. Alright, so he's got a dirty face. That's all. Once someone smirches something, it's been besmirched. I mean, you could just say that it's been smirched. Like, smirch is a verb on its own. Like, they are synonyms. Like, I think you can use them interchangeably and be technically correct, but one is more used for things like reputation and honor. Anyways. If you want the worst and funniest bad French accent, try and get a look at an old British comedy called Hello, Hello. Oh, I've never seen that one. Alright, okay. The Count protested, but Philippe, a man with a bald head and a smirched face, looking like a working blacksmith, placed on the floor a leather bag of tools, from which, having looked at the coffin and picked with his nail at the screw heads, he selected a turn screw. And with a few deft twirls at each of the screws, they stood up like little rows of mushrooms, and the lid was raised. I saw the light, of which I thought I had seen my last, once more. But the axis of vision remained fixed, as I was reduced to the cataleptic state in a position nearly perpendicular. I continued looking straight before me, and thus my gaze was now fixed upon the ceiling. I saw the face of Carmagnac leaning over me with a curious frown. It seemed to me that there was no recognition in his eyes. Oh, heaven, that I could have uttered were it but one cry. I saw the dark, mean mask of the little Count staring down at me from the other side, the face of the pseudo-marquis also peering at me, but not so full in the line of vision. There were other faces also. I see, said Carmagnac, withdrawing. Nothing of the kind there. You will be good enough to direct your man to readjust the lid of the coffin and to fix the screws, said the Count, taking courage. And really, the funeral must proceed. It is not fair to the people who have but moderate fees for night work to keep them hour after hour beyond the time. Hi, Leia. Count de Saint-Elier, you shall go in a very few minutes. I will direct just now all about the coffin. The Count looked toward the door, and there saw a gendarme and 2 or 3 more grave and stalwart specimens of the same force were also in the room. Gendarme is a cop. The Count was very uncomfortably excited. It was growing insupportable. As this gentleman makes a difficulty about my attending the obsequies of my kinsman, I will ask you, Planard, to accompany the funeral in my stead. In a few minutes, answered the incorrigible Carmagnac. I must trouble you for the key that opens that press. He pointed direct at the press in which the clothes had just been locked up. Okay, this seems more like he's gotten insider info. It's one thing to, like, put it together that, like, oh, he's in that room, but to know which cupboard they put it in. So what I want to know is it the Countess or Planard that leaked the secret? Possibly the Countess. She's been out of the room.
I have no objection, said the Count. None, of course, only they have not been used for an age. I'll direct someone to look for the key. If you've not got it about you, it is quite unnecessary. Philippe, try your skeleton keys with that press. I want it opened. Whose clothes are these? Inquired Carmagnac. When, the press having been opened, he took out the suit that had been placed there scarcely 2 minutes since. I can't say, answered the Count. I know nothing of the contents of that press. A roguish servant named Lablais, whom I dismissed about a year ago as the key. I have not seen it open for 10 years or more. The clothes are probably his. Well, here are visiting cards, see, and here a marked pocket handkerchief. R.B. upon it. He must have been stolen them from a man named Beckett. R. Beckett? Mr. Beckett, Berkeley Square. The card says, and my faith, here's a watch and a bunch of seals, one of them with the initials R.B. upon it. That servant Lablais must have been a consummate rogue. So he was, you are right, sir. It strikes me that he possibly stole these clothes, continued Carmagnac, from the man in the coffin, who, in that case, would be Monsieur Beckett, and not Monsieur de Saint-Amand. Oh, for wonderful to relate, Monsieur, the watch is still going. The man in the coffin, I believe, is not dead, but simply drugged. And for having robbed and intended to murder him, I arrest you, Nicolas de la Marque, Count de Saint-Alyre. In another moment, the old villain was a prisoner. I heard his discordant voice break quaveringly into sudden vehemence and volubility, now croaking, now shrieking as he oscillated between protests, threats, and impious appeals to the gods who will judge the secret of men. And thus, lying and raving, he was removed from the room and placed in the same coach with his beautiful and abandoned accomplice, already arrested, and with 2 gendarmes sitting beside them. They were immediate, driving at a rapid pace towards the conciergerie. There were now added to the general chorus 2 voices, very different in quality. One was that of the gasconading Colonel Gaillard, who had with difficulty been kept in the background up to this. The other was that of my jolly friend Whistlewick, who had come to identify me. Whistlewick. I shall tell you just now how this project against my property and life, so ingenious and monstrous, was exploded. I must first say a word about myself. I was placed in a hot bath, under the direction of Planard, as consummate a villain as any of the group, but now thoroughly in the interests of the prosecution. Thence I was laid in a warm bed, the window of the room being open. These simple measures restored me in about 3 hours. I should otherwise probably have continued under the spell for nearly 7. Practices of these nefarious conspirators had been carried on with consummate skill and secrecy. Their dupes were led, as I was, to be themselves auxiliary to the mystery which made their own destruction both safe and certain. A search was, of course, instituted. Graves were opened in Père Lachaise. The bodies exhumed had lain there too long and were too much decomposed to be recognized. One only was identified,
The notice for the burial in this particular case had been signed, the order given, and the fees paid by Gabriel Gaillard, who was known to the official clerk, who had to transact with him in this little funereal business. The very trick that had been arranged for me had been successfully practiced in his case. The person for whom the grave had been ordered was purely fictitious, and Gabriel Gaillard himself filled the coffin, on the cover of which that false name was inscribed, as well as upon a tombstone over the grave. Possibly the same honor, under my pseudonym, may have been intended for me. The identification was curious. This Gabriel Gaillard had had a bad fall from a runaway horse about 5 years before his mysterious disappearance. He had lost an eye and some teeth in this accident, besides sustaining a fracture of the right leg immediately above the ankle. He had kept the injuries to his face as profound a secret as he could. The result was that the glass eye, which had done duty for the one he had lost, remained in the socket, slightly displaced of... The result was that the glass eye, which had done duty for the one he had lost, remained in the socket, slightly displaced, of course, but recognizable by the artist who had supplied it. More pointedly recognizable were the teeth, peculiar in workmanship, which one of the ablest dentists in Paris had himself adapted to the chasms, the cast of which, owing to peculiarities in the accident, he happened to have preserved. This cast precisely fitted the gold plate found in the mouth of the skull. The mark, also above the ankle, in the bone, where it had reunited, corresponded exactly with the place where the fracture had knit in the limb of Gabriel Gaillard. Now the colonel, his younger brother, had been furious about the disappearance of Gabriel, and still more so about that of his money, which he had long regarded as his proper keepsake whenever death should remove his brother from the vexations of living. He had suspected for a long time, for certain adroitly discovered reasons, that the Count de Saint-Elier and the beautiful lady, his companion, countess, or whatever else she was, had pigeoned him. To this suspicion were added some others of a still darker kind, but in their first shape, rather the exaggerated reflections of his fury, ready to believe anything than well-defined conjectures. At length, an accident had placed the colonel very nearly upon the right scent. A chance, possibly lucky for himself, had apprised the scoundrel Planard that the conspirators, himself among their number, were in danger. The result was that he made terms for himself, became an informer, and concerted with the police this visit, made to the Chateau de la Calque at the critical moment when every measure had been completed that was necessary to construct a perfect case against his guilty accomplices. I need not describe the minute industry or forethought with which the police agents collected all the details necessary to support the case. They had brought an able physician who, even had Planard failed, would have supplied the necessary medical evidence. My trip to Paris, you will believe, had not turned out quite so agreeably as I had anticipated. I was the principal witness for the prosecution in this cause célèbre, with all the agréments that attend that enviable position. Having had an escape, as my friend Whistlewick said, with a squeak, from my life, I innocently fancied that I should have been an object of considerable interest to Parisian society. But, a good deal to my mortification, I discovered that I was the object of a good-natured but contemptuous merriment. I was a balourde, a benet, un âne, and figured even in caricatures. I became a sort of public character, a dignity unto which I was not born, and from which I fled as soon as I conveniently could, without even paying my friend, the Marquis d'Armonville, a visit at his hospitable chateau. The Marquis escaped scot-free. His accomplice, the Count, was executed. The fair Eugenie, under extenuating circumstances, consisting, so far as I could discover, of her good looks, got off for 6 years' imprisonment. Colonel Gaillard recovered some of his brother's money out of the not very affluent estate of the Count and soi-disant Countess. This and the execution of the Count put him in high good humor. So far from insisting on a hostile meeting, he shook me very graciously by the hand, told me that he looked upon the wound on his head, inflicted by the knob of my stick, as having been received in an honorable though irregular duel in which he had no disadvantage or unfairness to complain of. She's too pretty to execute, yeah. I think I have only 2 additional details to mention. The bricks discovered in the room with the coffin had been packed in it, in straw, to supply the weight of a dead body, and to prevent the suspicions and contradictions that might have been excited by the arrival of an empty coffin at the chateau. Secondly, the Countess's magnificent brilliants were examined by a lapidary and pronounced to be worth about £5 to a tragedy queen who happened to be in want of a suit of paste. A suite of paste. The Countess had figured some years before as one of the cleverest actresses on the minor stage of Paris, where she had been picked up by the Count and used as his principal accomplice. She it was who, admirably disguised, had rifled my papers in the carriage on my memorable night journey to Paris. She also had figured as the interpreting magician of the palanquin at the ball at Versailles. What? So far as I was affected by that elaborate mystification, it was intended to reanimate my interest, which they feared might flag in the beautiful Countess. It had its design and action upon other intended victims also, but of them there is, at present, no need to speak. The introduction of a real corpse, procured from a person who supplied the Parisian anatomists, involved no real danger, while it heightened the mystery and kept the prophet alive in the gossip of the town and in the thoughts of the noodles with whom he had conferred. I divided the remainder of the summer and autumn between Switzerland and Italy. As the well-worn phrase goes, I was a sadder, if not a wiser man. A great deal of the horrible impression left upon my mind was due, of course, to the mere action of nerves and brain, but serious feelings of another and deeper kind remained. My afterlife was ultimately formed by the shock I had then received. Those impressions led me, but not till after many years, to happier, though not less serious thoughts, and I have deep reason to be thankful to the all-merciful ruler of events for an early and terrible lesson in the ways of sin. The end. Okay. Well. We had a lot of it predicted. I did not predict that she was actually an actress and had also played other parts in this. That's a good twist. And I mean, I knew that Gaillard had to come up in some way, but I didn't know exactly how. What did we learn, Richard? Not much. Oh, King Bear, thank you for those 300 bits. Thank you so much. Don't go around telling people you have money. Don't go after unavailable women. Most of them are not going to be actresses that are trying to lure you to your death, but it's just a bad thing to do anyways. You learn money is bad. I don't know if I'd go that far, but I mean that's a philosophical, personal thing. I don't know if it was the moral of that story. Just a fool and their money are soon parted. Yeah. Don't just like take everyone at their word. Paris is bad. Just the entire city of Paris just catching strays from this. Ugh. Lack of money is also bad. Yeah. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. Sure. You love Paris? I love Paris too. Yeah. Yep. My mouth got so dry reading that. Oh, man. I really liked it though. You guys, that means that we have now read all of the stories in the collection In a Glass Darkly. I like that I don't think you caught that reference. I absolutely caught the reference. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Please stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. I got you. Hi, Nick. Hello. You thought Picard or ever Isabel was gonna turn after they shorted him, but he didn't know yet that they shorted him, though. The doctor, the fake Marquis, yeah. You kept it so straight. Hi, Leia. How's it going? Hello. I really enjoyed reading through that collection. In a previous year, last year, we read Carmilla, like a year and a half ago, kind of, which is also in this collection. So we didn't reread that one this year, but we read the rest of the stories in that collection, which was finishing with this one, The Room in the Dragon Volant. There was also Green Tea, The Familiar, Justice Harbottle. That might be all of them. Yeah. And those ones are shorter. They were about like 10 chapters each. And then Carmilla and Dragon Volant were more like 20-something chapters each. Yeah. You watched a video that gave the backstory on Carmilla. I am working on editing the VOD of us reading Carmilla, which was, again, it was about a year and a half ago, I think. We read it in the summer, but I think not this past summer. I think it was the previous summer. But I'm working on editing that to get it up on the YouTube channel. So if anyone hasn't heard it before, honestly, it remains my favorite piece that I've read from him because lesbian vampires. And also a lot of, I mean, this story was not a supernatural story. It was like a bit of a gothic vibey mystery story. The other ones, the Familiar, Green Tea, Justice Harbottle, did have elements of the supernatural in it, but in a way that even like brought up question about like, oh, maybe the person was just crazy. Whereas Carmilla is the only one that I feel is like explicitly like, no, that she's a vampire. Like, this is a story about a vampire. And it's very good. So, I am looking forward to getting that up on the YouTube. So again, if you are over on the Twitch side of things, if you would like to, if you're not already following that YouTube channel, if that's something you would like to listen to at any point in the near future, make sure you're subscribing to that YouTube channel. Yeah, because I will say, if you liked these stories at all, then you will like Carmilla, and I think Carmilla is like better than these ones. So yeah, okay, we need to decide, do we have ideas for what we want to start reading on Tuesday? We can also keep discussing it over in the Discord if you guys have any suggestions. We have lots of options, so I feel like we should have more Oz. It has been a while since we read another Oz book. Yeah, for context, for anyone who's maybe newer to the channel, we've been working our way through the Wizard of Oz series because I really like old-fashioned children's fantasy because it's really messed up, and the Oz books are really messed up. And I try to space them out like with at least one book in between Oz books so we don't get like too sick of L. Frank Baum, because you can tell as the books go on that he's getting more and more sick of his own shit. And we haven't read one in a while because September and October were dedicated to spooky season. We've been reading classic horror since the beginning of September, and now we get to go back into other genres as well. So yeah, we could definitely read the next Wizard of Oz book. That would be quite a change of pace, which could be good. Could be good. Yeah. Okay. Well, we will keep figuring that out. Feel free to post on the Discord if you have other suggestions. But yes, either way, we will be starting a new book Tuesday night. I'm going to end the YouTube stream, but we're going to keep going on Twitch. We are going to probably take a few minutes to stretch, but then we'll be hanging out a bit longer. We might go live on the other YouTube channel, the ASMR YouTube channel. So if you're not subscribed to that one and you want to get alerts for me going live over there, make sure to do that. But otherwise, thank you for hanging out, YouTube. And if you're watching the VOD after the fact, thank you for watching. And maybe we'll see you in the future. I hope you enjoyed this story. I really enjoyed this. Definitely hope to read more Sheridan le Fanu in the future. Who knows, maybe next spooky season we'll read another story or two by him. But yeah, you need to read Les Mis. We've discussed it. Honestly, I'm open to it, but I think that you guys would flag on it. I don't know. Maybe I'm not doing enough credit to you guys. I feel like that's a big undertaking. But maybe one day. Maybe we will. Okay. Thank you, YouTube. Have a good night. And we'll keep going on Twitch. Okay.